My name is Steve Spielberg, and I just directed a movie called Jaws.
He was threatened with firing every day.
Nobody's willing to hire you after this.
People second-guessing him at all times.
And they're saying this is the end of your career.
When it came time to show the first screening of Jaws to the studio executives, Spielberg's face was met with underwhelmed and disappointed faces. Not exactly the reaction he wanted, considering the amount of problems he had already faced making the film itself. And the executives were convinced this movie would be a flop.
He would talk about shutting down the picture completely.
My heart sank because I knew that the footage was useless.
But to be fair, this is what they saw.
Now.
There was no music, just the sound of beach waves and swimming. Jaws was missing the iconic music that would set the stage for a whole new era in film scoring.
And the winner is...
Spielberg wasn't ready to give up yet, and he knew the right man to call. But why was young Spielberg so sure this movie was going to be a success?
You're about to see us sweep the nominations.
Going so far as to risk his career over Jaws. After all, there was a previous director who was fired from even making Jaws for something as silly as calling the shark a white whale. But while that production fiasco was going on with that director, there was Spielberg, reading the original novel Jaws and instantly knowing he could make a picture based off this menacing shark. And he had recently done something similar in his previous movie, Duel, with a truck. So naturally, Spielberg thought, giant truck, giant shark.
So it came to me.
So when Spielberg found out he was the new director, he knew he now had the daunting task of creating the mechanical beast. In 1973, without digital effects, while dealing with already peeved executives. Especially since the project went 100 days longer than scheduled and went over $5 million in budget.
It was the hardest production I've ever experienced, and I still have nightmares about it.
As they began filming, the ocean had other ideas. The mechanical marvel kept malfunctioning, and the boat used in the movie even sank during production. But the vision remained clear, and the show had to go on. And that's when he finished the film. Everything finally seemed to be going well for Spielberg, until he showed the executives the first screening. And we know how that ordeal went.
I thought it was going to be a disaster, and I said so on TV.
The fault of no one but Universal Studios. It is not Steven Spielberg's fault. In giving this film an arbitrary May 2nd start date, that the script was never together.
3 strikes for the executives, but Spielberg had one final trick up his sleeve. He knew someone from his previous film that could help. So he picked up the phone and gave him a call.
If I ever get a chance to direct movies, I want this guy to score all of them.
Enter John Williams. And as the two were tinkering around, Williams started to play,
Dun, 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 dun.
which Spielberg began to laugh at.
He had a great sense of humor. It was putting me on.
This movie already had so many factors against it, and John Williams did not help take the stress off of Spielberg.
And I said, play it again. He played it again, and he played it again, and it suddenly seemed right.
He had found the right sound for Jaws and was ready to redeem himself. When the film was screened again, this time with the music, the difference was night and day.
Now! Shoot! Time!
And here's where Spielberg's genius also kicked in. He kept thinking about Hitchcock, realizing that fear lies in the unseen. Instead of relying solely on visuals, he tapped into the haunting sound of Williams' score to evoke terror and capitalize on the music. His score became the unseen terror lurking below the waters. It was the heartbeat of dread that every viewer felt, compensating for the absence of our marine antagonist. And the absence of music in some scenes only elevated the score.
And he put the bite in the shark with that very primal Stravinsky-esque theme.
The studio executives were far more positive and recognized the potential hit they had on their hands. When Jaws finally surfaced, it wasn't just a film. It was a symphony of sight and sound, an orchestra of tension, and a ballet of fear. Thanks to Williams' iconic score, Jaws changed how movies were made and experienced. And even with all the production woes, the music bound everything together, transforming this potential career-ruining disaster into a cinematic masterpiece of sheer terror.
This would be both the worst experience of my career and the greatest experience of my career.
He never gave in to the stress.
30-some years out, and it still plays.
His decision to push through the struggles, adapt, and embrace the music turned a story about a shark into a cinematic legend, solidifying Spielberg's status as a visionary director and leading Jaws to win 3 out of the 4 Oscars it was nominated for.
John Williams for Jaws.
And what came about Williams and Spielberg? Well, their pairing proved to be one of the most successful director-composer collaborations in film history, working together on many iconic films like E.T., Jurassic Park, and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Without John Williams, bikes don't really fly, nor do brooms in Quidditch matches, nor do men in red capes. There is no force. Dinosaurs do not walk the earth. We do not wonder. We do not weep. We do not believe.